Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, RFK Jr. under fire.
There was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there was so many perverse incentives. And these are model
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. defends himself as frustrated senators from both parties question his controversial vaccine policies and the turmoil it's caused inside the CDC.
I'm Jay O'Brien here on Capitol Hill with details of that contentious hearing and what Secretary Kennedy is now saying to those calls from lawmakers and the medical community for him to resign.
Authorities are working to identify the bodies of at least 16 killed in that tragic crash of a streetcar at a popular tourist site. One American is among them.
I'm Tom Sufi Burridge at the crash site in Lisbon. We'll bring you new video and the terrifying account of a survivor and her family who were on board that streetcar when disaster struck.
From the Midwest to the West Coast, millions are under wildfire and smoke alerts as a major fire near Yosemite gets bigger. All this is dueling tropical threats brew in the Atlantic and Pacific. Our Lee Goldberg tracks where the weather is heading. The death toll in Gaza hits 64,000 as the conflict between Israel and Hamas approaches 2 years. Yet this man is finding a way to carry on, gaining strength through helping others and their strength, literally. In tonight's Prime Focus, we introduce you to the trainer known as Gaza's gym rat and who, despite it all, has found a reason to stay optimistic.
It feels like watching a movie. Everything is collapsing around you and you're just doing these push-ups and pull-ups and all the other exercises.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We do begin with that brutal hearing on Capitol Hill. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. under fire from both parties over his highly controversial vaccine policies. He was grilled for nearly 3 hours about vaccines and the chaos unfolding inside the CDC, including his firing of the CDC director who had been on the job for less than a month. Kennedy defended his actions and even slammed the work of the CDC, claiming the former director, Dr. Susan Monterez, told him herself that she was, quote, not trustworthy. Her lawyer calls that patently ridiculous. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, also a doctor, blasted the secretary for supporting President Trump's Operation Warp Speed to create COVID vaccines, only to then attempt to restrict access to those same vaccines. Kennedy pressed over concerns that he'll restrict access to vaccines for millions of Americans. Today's hearing comes a day after Florida announced its plans to become the first state to eliminate vaccine mandates. In a moment, we'll talk to one of the top CDC officials who resigned in protest last week. But first, Jay O'Brien leads us off from Capitol Hill.
Yeah, Lindsay, an extraordinary hearing. In total, 3 Republican senators in that room who just months ago voted to confirm Kennedy, now saying they question his leadership.
Tonight, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. angrily defending himself as frustrated senators from both parties demanded answers on whether he's trying to limit Americans' access to vaccines and firing top health officials who stand in his way. Just last week, Kennedy ousting CDC Chief Susan Monterez less than a month after swearing her in. Other top CDC officials resigning in protest.
These changes were absolutely necessary adjustments to restore the agency to its role as the world's gold standard public health agency.
Today, Monterez writing in the Wall Street Journal that she was fired for refusing Kennedy's, quote, troubling directive that she rubber-stamped the as-of-yet unwritten recommendations of a vaccine advisory panel filled with people who have publicly expressed anti-vaccine rhetoric. Kennedy saying she's lying.
I told her that she had to resign because I asked her, are you a trustworthy person? And she said no. So if you had an employee...
So you're saying she's lying?
Yes. Every conversation I had with her, there were witnesses.
Let me get this straight. This is the same person that less than a month earlier, you stood next to her and described her as unimpeachable. And in a month, she became a liar?
Kennedy, a longtime vaccine skeptic, repeatedly pressed on the COVID vaccine. The FDA now only approving it for seniors and adults and children with underlying conditions. No longer recommending it for everyone like the flu shot.
Do you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
I don't know how many died.
Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent additional deaths?
Again, I would like to see the data and talk about the data.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved lives?
Two Republican senators, both doctors, who voted to confirm Kennedy, now sounding the alarm.
I support vaccines. I'm a doctor.
John Barrasso of Wyoming.
And I've grown deeply concerned. The public has seen measles outbreaks, leadership in the National Institute of Health questioning the use of mRNA vaccines, the recently confirmed director of Centers for Disease Control and Prevention fired. Americans don't know who to rely on.
Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana going even further, saying the FDA is now effectively denying Americans vaccines. The senator reading a letter he received from a doctor.
We're all confused and concerned about who can get the COVID vaccine. Pharmacists are requiring a prescription now even for patients over 65, creating a huge headache. I submit these for the record.
Without objection.
I would say effectively we're denying people vaccine.
Senator Cantwell.
You're wrong.
It's very confusing.
But today, Americans we spoke with say they're at a loss.
I'm totally confused what I'm allowed to have and what I'm not allowed to have in terms of the injections. I have no idea.
We should be trusted to make our own decisions.
And in Dallas, Texas, Jeremy Hayes, a father of two, says that confusion is making us less safe.
We do know that when we do not vaccinate, there is harm. And it's common sense, it's medical science.
And after the hearing, those Republican senators, Bill Cassidy and John Barrasso, refusing to say they still have confidence in Secretary Kennedy.
Do you still have confidence in him, Senator? His ability to lead HHS?
Do you have confidence in him, Senator?
Is there a reason you're not answering?
This is what the President of the United States is doing, and I will not second this.
Some contentious moments there. Joe O'Brien joins us here from the Capitol. AJ, some Republicans expressing concerns about RFK, but could we ultimately see them turn against him?
Well, those three Republican senators, Lindsey, not going the full length of their Democratic colleagues and calling on Kennedy to resign at this hour. They say they're going to keep the pressure on. Lindsey.
All right, Jay O'Brien for us. Thanks so much, Jay. With us now is Dr. Deborah Howry. She served as the CDC's chief medical officer and deputy director for program and science before resigning last week, along with three other top CDC officials. Dr. Howry, we thank you so much for coming on the show. You watched Secretary Kennedy's testimony today. Let me just ask, for starters, your thoughts.
I had many thoughts after watching it, and I think I was struck by how he talked about not knowing much about COVID deaths and vaccine data. And I was the chief medical officer at CDC. I offered him to brief him on many times, as did my senior career scientist, and he never took us up on that. So it was really surprising that he didn't know anything about number of COVID deaths or the vaccine effectiveness. And I appreciated Senator Cassidy even pointing out the potential conflicts of interest of the new vaccine committee members, because they were expert witnesses in groups that were suing vaccine. To me, that was concerning.
Now, he also said today he's not taking vaccines away from anybody. Do you find that to bear out as the truth?
Yeah, so, I learned on Twitter when he changed the CDC COVID guidance, and that has resulted in less access for people. And the latest COVID recommendations, are for older adults or those with chronic medical conditions. So that's already limiting vaccines. And based on what I have heard for this upcoming vaccine meeting, there will likely be additional vaccines that are being reconsidered for ages and different demographics. So I don't believe the secretary.
You heard our reporter Jay O'Brien ask some of the Republican senators if they thought RFK Jr. should resign. They either avoided the question or said no. Do you believe he should resign?
A few weeks ago, I was more on the fence and wanted to give him a chance. But after hearing him today, where he didn't know COVID data, he was talking about firing all the CDC people who do work on chronic disease. And he didn't acknowledge the trauma the staff have gone through after the shooting. I do think he should resign if he cannot follow his own principles of gold standard science, which he has not upheld.
Secretary Kennedy says only seniors and those with underlying conditions should receive a COVID vaccine. He does not recommend the vaccine for healthy children or for healthy pregnant women. What's your recommendation?
So we know that healthy children can get COVID and get very sick. And certainly we saw an increased risk of severe outcomes in pregnant women. So I think, children and pregnant women should discuss this with their doctor. They should have the option to get the vaccine.
As you well know, we're about to enter flu season here in North America. You wrote in a Washington Post opinion today that because of the U.S.'s separation from the World Health Organization, we just don't know which viruses should be targeted in the next flu shot. What could that mean for flu season here?
So what it means is for future vaccines for flu, we're not going to have enough knowledge of what are the different strains out there as the flu vaccine is being built. So it's concerning for preparedness for the future. Similarly with COVID strains, and we haven't had any samples of polio either. So this could be reaching our shores. I think the secretary really needs to focus on public health preparedness and really supporting state and local health departments to do the work that they do.
Dr. Deborah Howry, we thank you so much for your time and insight.
My pleasure.
Now to the major wildfire threat out west, where more than 60 large fires are currently burning. One particularly destructive fire near Yosemite has been growing in size. The fires have also triggered smoke alerts across multiple states. Trevor Ault has the latest.
Tonight, the massive wildfire burning west of Yosemite since Tuesday is now more than 21 square miles and still out of control. Overnight, CAL FIRE reporting one of the hundreds of firefighters working the TCU September Lightning Complex fire was hurt when a fire engine rolled over. Pete Tomeno and his wife grabbed what they could and fled the flames Tuesday.
By the time we got onto the road, the neighbors behind me and next to me were on fire. To watch it come over the ridge the way it did and as fast as it did, that is absolute fear.
Their home is thankfully still standing, but so many in the historic town of Chinese Camp lost everything.
This is one of so many historical sites here that had stood for more than 100 years, and look at the inside, absolutely gutted by the 6.5 fire.
And with more than 60 large fires burning in the west and even more in Canada, the smoke is triggering air quality alerts in 6 states. In Spokane, Washington, school officials moving all student activities inside. The air quality there dangerous for everyone.
And Linsey, back here in Los Angeles, a major headline tonight involving that devastating wildfire from back in January, the Eaton fire, which killed 19 people and destroyed thousands of homes. The Department of Justice now says it is suing SoCal Edison, alleging that fire was sparked from the faulty infrastructure of the power company. SoCal Edison says it's reviewing this lawsuit and it will respond in court. Linsey?
Trevor, thank you. We're also monitoring tropical threats in the Atlantic and Pacific. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our New York station WABC has the latest forecast. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Lindsay. Thankfully, we are seeing the heat decrease in the Pacific Northwest, but the tropics are active. We have Lorena and Kiko, a Category 4 major hurricane. Thankfully, it weakens, but tropical storm conditions could be in the Hawaiian Islands early next week. Lorena is going to send some moisture into the southwest. We have flood watches here, 2 inches an hour rainfall rates. Disturbance in the Atlantic could be, Gabrielle, over the weekend, tracks toward the Leeward Islands into next week. And we're tracking a line of heavy downpours and showers Philly to New York as we go through the overnights getting gusty on the East Coast. That's your forecast, Lindsay.
All right, Lee, thanks so much. Tonight, we have learned that an American is among the dead after that horrific streetcar accident in Portugal. Tom Sophie Burridge is on the scene for us in Lisbon, Portugal tonight. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, Lindsay, heavy machinery, as you can see, has been pulled in to the scene of the tragedy. They're working now to remove some of the wreckage, possibly the streetcar at the bottom of the hill, which is still intact. We're getting dramatic new video, dramatic new testimony from survivors in what people here in Lisbon are calling one of the worst accidents in modern history. Tonight, terrifying new video of that horrific streetcar disaster in Portugal. One American amongst at least 16 people killed. Screams of horror from inside a second streetcar just downhill from the car that derailed and slammed into a building. Russia Abdo on board with her husband and 3-year-old son.
Just going up and some seconds, and then we felt no brakes. The cable car was going down with acceleration.
Russia says they were tossed out of their seats and heard a terrifying sound. That doomed streetcar thundering towards them. You could hear the cable car at the top of the hill just flying down towards you.
Yes, yes. So we thought it's going to hit us. My husband jumped from the window. I gave him my son, and I was about to jump when they told me, don't jump, it already crashed.
People seen climbing out of windows, smoke filling the alleyway, bystanders rushing in searching for survivors, in videos posted on social media.
It was blurry, full of dust. We couldn't see anything.
Officials saying a 3-year-old German boy was pulled out alive, along with his badly injured mother. But tragically, that boy's father did not survive. So far, authorities have not identified the American killed. These videos from just last year showing how that streetcar normally carried passengers up and down that scenic hill. Tonight, investigators trying to figure out how this happened. Well, Lindsay, you can see that massive crane turning there. It looks like work here at the site will continue right into the night here in Lisbon. We know from officials that several of the injured are said to be in a life-threatening condition. We know that 3 of the dead have still not been identified, and we're expecting the results of a preliminary investigation in the morning. Lindsay?
All right, Tom, thank you. In Washington, President Trump is increasingly testing the limits of his executive power, including with the deployments of the National Guard and removing officials not in line with his agenda. The president announced the firing of Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, and now the DOJ has opened a criminal investigation. Let's break it down with James Sample, professor at Hofstra Law School and ABC News contributor. Thank you so much for joining us, as always. First of all, is this within his power as president to terminate Lisa Cook?
So under the statutory regime, there is a for-cause provision that says a Federal Reserve governor may be removed for cause. But because in the 111-year history of the Federal Reserve, Lindsay, that has never happened, there is no judicial precedent testing what the for-cause provision really means. President Trump, by trying to fire Lisa Cook, is certainly testing the boundaries of that, particularly on what seems to be likely a pretextual basis here.
Now, he's accusing Lisa Cook of falsifying bank documents and property records. How are Cook and her attorneys responding tonight?
Cook and her attorneys deny any wrongdoing. They say that to the extent that there may be questions about her mortgage applications, that there's nothing fraudulent about them, that maybe there's a clerical error, something of that nature. They point out, and today, just earlier this afternoon, ProPublica, an investigative report, revealed that at least 3 members of Trump's own cabinet have similar circumstances to what Lisa Cook is pointing out. They've filed a lawsuit trying to prohibit the president from firing her. This is going to be ultimately decided by the courts, and I suspect by the Supreme Court, given that this is really a question of first impression and a hugely, hugely important matter relative to the United States economic independence.
And we've seen this out of the Trump playbook in recent weeks and months. He accused Adam Schiff of fraud as well. And then I'm just curious to get a sense from what you think this means about how President Trump is categorizing these mortgage rules.
I think it's opportunistic. There's no question. On the other hand, it's not a great look if you're Lisa Cook. It's not a great, if there is something to be found, President Trump and his administration are going to find it if you are perceived as an adversary of the administration. The Supreme Court, though, no matter how conservative and favorable to President Trump the Supreme Court has been, and it has been extremely favorable, just 3 months ago in a case called Wilcox involving the National Labor Relations Board, went out of its way, really a tangent that wasn't even an issue, to say that the Federal Reserve is structurally different and that because it is analogous to the first and second banks of the United States, indicating that for the Supreme Court, the Federal Reserve's independence is hugely important, just as it is to many other Americans.
All right, let's talk about the president deploying the National Guard to various cities. We've seen him do it in L.A., saw him do it in D.C. as well. Now he's saying that he may go into Chicago potentially by this weekend. Now, we know J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, has said that he is vehemently opposed to that the residents of Chicago don't want that. Let's listen to what he had to say during a press conference this week.
You are likely to see videos of them hauling away mothers and fathers, traveling to work or picking up their kids from school. Sometimes they will detain, handcuff, and haul away children. Let's be clear, the terror and cruelty is the point.
Now, we understood that there were some technicalities that really did allow him to do that in D.C. What can he and can't he do when it comes to other cities that actually do have a governor?
You're absolutely right, Lindsay. And I think it's helpful to think of these in two separate categories. D.C. is one category.
Right.
Los Angeles and Chicago and other cities like that are second category. And so in D.C., the president has the authority as the commander-in-chief of the D.C. National Guard to mobilize them without having to federalize them. Federalize them is a complex term that basically means that in other states, in states as opposed to the district, you are subject to what's known as the Posse Comitatus Act, which is an old 1878 statute that in a nutshell says that federal law enforcement can't be used for domestic law enforcement purposes. Federal military services can't be used for domestic law enforcement purposes. In D.C., that's not exactly true. In California and in in Chicago, without the consent of the governors, so you can think of Governor Pritzker as akin to Governor Newsom in California. And just earlier this week on Tuesday, Judge Charles Breyer in San Francisco said that the use of the National Guard and the use of the United States military in Los Angeles earlier this summer and still continuing to this day amounted to a violation of that Posse Comitatus Act. So therefore it was illegal. However, that ruling is stayed pending the opportunity for the administration to appeal.
All right, James Sample, always appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. Legendary fashion designer Giorgio Armani has died. He is known as the godfather of Italian fashion. He dressed celebrities and world leaders alike. What the Milan native overcame as a boy and the hard work that built his multi-billion-dollar empire. Here's Matt Gutman.
He is the legendary Italian designer Giorgio Armani, and that name alone synonymous with modern elegance, quiet luxury, effortless glamour. And for half a century, he reimagined the business suit for men and women and became one of the first designers to tether his business to celebrities. From Hollywood stars to world leaders, Armani dressed them all. Julia Roberts turning heads at the 1990 Golden Globes in a men's Armani pantsuit. And then there were the gowns. Cate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Lady Gaga, his frequent muses. His Hollywood debut in the classic American Gigolo. Richard Gere selecting a supple Armani. Giorgio Armani was made for Hollywood. Those icy blues, the shock of white hair, always tan and fit, frequently on the red carpet, here enjoying a laugh with Roberts and George Clooney, getting a hug from Italian royalty, Sophia Loren. And at the Cannes Film Festival with famed director and friend Martin Scorsese. He'd said he'd always wanted to direct movies, and eventually he'd rack up credits in more than 200 films. He dressed Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Ray Liotta in Goodfellas, and created Leonardo DiCaprio's tailored wardrobe in The Wolf of Wall Street. Armani even making a costume for Beyoncé for her performance at the American Music Awards. Armani was born in 1934 in a small town south of Milan and was badly wounded by a World War II mine as a child, but recovered and launched his label in 1975. His work ethic helping him build a multi-billion-dollar empire, which included everything from perfume to a basketball team. And just days before his death, the 91-year-old opening up in a candid interview about his reputation as a workaholic. He said, "My only regret in life was spending too many hours working and not enough time with friends and family."
A message for us all. Our thanks to Matt Gutman for that. Coming up, the NFL season kicks off tonight with reigning champions Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Dallas Cowboys. We take a look at the season by the numbers, and from binders to electronics, why costs are rising on back-to-school supplies and how parents can try to save money. But next, in war-torn Gaza, we meet the self-proclaimed Gaza gym rat, a man using fitness to cope with everyday loss and chaos. Welcome back. As the conflict between Israel and Hamas approaches 2 years now, health officials in Gaza said today that the death toll there has surpassed 64,000. And with all the talk about ceasefires from politicians, it's important to remember the real people caught in the middle of a war they most certainly did not ask for. Tonight, we want to introduce you to a man who, despite it all, has found a reason to stay optimistic. Our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, has the story of the self-proclaimed Gaza gym rat who is staying sane through staying in shape, so he can feed his family and give back to those in dire need.
Yo, the gym rat in Gaza here.
He'll heave jerry cans full of water, hunks of concrete, cram his school bag with the wreckage of his bombed-out city, anything to challenge gravity and his muscles and the cage that is the Gaza Strip.
Daily fitness life in Gaza. Let's get it. Between rebuilding and returning to our house and making one of the best transformations I ever imagined in the situation, I just want to thank you guys for all of your love and support throughout my journey.
About 18 months ago, Mohammed Hatem started an Instagram page called Gym Rat in Gaza.
No arms, no traps, no social life.
Ostensibly to chronicle his journey from college sophomore runt to ripped and to try to escape the war that Hamas began on October 7th in the only spaces he could control, in his mind and his body.
Since I'm not expecting to get any access to the gym anytime soon, I'm going to be starting this account to document my journey, trying to get back up on my feet once again. Feels like watching a movie. Everything is collapsing around you and you're just doing these push-ups and pull-ups and all the other exercises. So, you know, these words were kind of like what motivated me to start making content.
Muscles crave calories, which are scarce in Gaza, and above all, they crave protein, which has been nearly non-existent.
It's gotten to the point that I would buy like 1 kilogram of rice for $20 or $25.
Before the war, you could buy a whole cart of groceries for $25 US.
Exactly, like for $25 US, like you are talking about like 1 kilogram of lentils, like before this all started, it would be like $1.
You're like a plant now yourself. You're nurtured by soil and sunshine, a little bit of water.
95% of my diet recently has been rice, white bread, white beans, and maybe lentils. Plants are basically like the only thing we have right now. I am vegan by force right now.
When Mohammed started posting these videos, he was studying business administration at Al-Aqsa University in Gaza, which was later destroyed by the Israeli military. Israeli military incursions had already displaced his family at least half a dozen times, and his posts were initially daily workout chronicles, grinding it out on rooftops and in the bare concrete of alleyways.
On June 12th, we woke up and we found out internet, mobile data, network signal, all of them are gone.
The daily updates petered out in favor of vlogs, partly because internet bandwidth simply made it impossible to publish his videos.
I'm sitting right here trying to get internet.
But it's also because the videos began to focus more on his survival and his ingenuity. And for a social media audience of hundreds of thousands, it provided a telescopic view without politics and polemics of real life in Gaza.
I started the day with going to the UNRWA station near my house to receive an aid box, which honestly was a struggle considering how many people there were, but we got it done. Once I got home, I helped my family start the fire so we can heat up our food and water.
We reached out to Mohammed this past spring, and our team in Gaza began filming him earlier this summer. They were there to witness moments of hope. A pop-up market with some food, even meat, though most of it was unaffordable.
Over the past 3 months, I've never seen anyone sell meat before. For you to have 1 kilogram of meat, which you don't even know what kind of meat this is, you're gonna need like $300, $400.
And they were there for additional displacements and the perpetual search for water and food. At one point in his odyssey, Mohammed and his family were allowed to move back to their home in Khan Yunis.
The actual process of rebuilding our house is basically done. We built all the walls that we needed and we covered up the area with the metal top.
It had been partially destroyed, but they were luckier than the vast majority of Gazans because at least part of it remained intact. Plus, those precious solar panels.
The sky looked absolutely beautiful.
In the following months, during an all-too-brief lull, Mohammed showed his family settling into a more normal routine.
Planting is one of the very few solutions that we are using to deal with the situation we are going through.
At this point, Mohammed and his family, like so many others, started home farming.
We have this lemon tree right here. Imagine like how much area that was used to grow plants and for livestock and agriculture is now like empty. I started my first attempt with 90 kilograms.
And during this lull, Mohammed even went back to his gym. There was a little more food, and hunger persisted but wasn't quite as sharp.
Today was my last day in the south of Gaza Strip.
But once again, this past spring, they received dreaded orders from the IDF to flee.
You know, the normal routine here, you wake up, you find out that your house is in the danger zone.
Moving to another rental stuffed with other family members and dwindling belongings.
I gotta say, it's looking better than I expected. So we decided to move out again.
Then another move. And at first, it might look like paradise.
Some people underestimate how close to the beach we are.
A tent near the beach.
Tent life is not suitable for human life. I am literally getting tanned while sitting inside a tent because of how hot it is. What do I eat in a day to stay fit here in Gaza?
Muhammad's videos cataloging his and his family's food intake, almost always some version of a few spoonfuls of chickpeas, lentils, rice, and bread, are sobering.
For my post-workout meal, I had a bowl of lentils.
And it's especially so when one learns that, partly due to Muhammad's internet success, they are far more fortunate than most.
I am one of the most blessed Gazans, because I have a platform. I have, my Instagram account that helped me keep up with all the high prices and the lack of food. With the fact that I have this much of a blessing, I still went through days where I barely had like one meal. I've been able to provide food for my family, despite how expensive it was.
That pop-up market, which featured the $200 per pound meat, it's now inside of what the IDF has designated a combat zone, and it has been shuttered.
What do you weigh now?
Can you guess?
Like 120 pounds.
Yeah, that is exactly how much I weigh right now.
Good guess, 54 kilos.
Yeah, great guess.
And amidst all of this, Muhammad has developed a side hustle to his side hustle. He's now training Westerners online. The perversity of that is not lost on him, but the proceeds from his work now keeps his family and others alive.
It's kind of ironic that I'm coaching people on how to eat and how to get their macros in, while I myself barely get like 1/5 of my daily protein intake.
Muhammad is still living in that tent on the beach with the rest of his family. And while he once dreamed of building his body and his homeland, now, like so many, he has a different preoccupation, escaping from Gaza.
Whatever it takes, I just want to escape what is going on right now and to leave Gaza because of how humiliating the struggles and the sufferings that we are going through are.
Certainly gives new perspective on life. Our thanks to Matt Gutman for that. Coming up, the NFL season is kicking off and the champs are out to defend their crown. We break down this NFL season by the numbers, and our Robin Roberts goes one-on-one with Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts. Then Leave It to Bieber, the surprise new album from Justin Bieber dropping tonight. We have all the details. Welcome back, everyone. The NFL regular season is back, kicking off with the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles hosting their rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, with all 32 teams preparing their quest for championship glory. We'll get to Robin Roberts' interview with Eagles quarterback and reigning Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts shortly. But first, here's a look at the upcoming season by the numbers. The Eagles and Cowboys are playing the first of 272 regular season games that will be played this season. The Eagles are coming off their second Super Bowl win in franchise history and looking to defend that title. Their opponents in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs, are seeking redemption and their fourth straight appearance in the big game. Meanwhile, 12 teams hope that this is the year they'll finally get their first Super Bowl win. The season will also feature a record 7 games hosted outside the United States, with 2 countries, Ireland and Spain, hosting their very first NFL games. All of this leads to a milestone Super Bowl in February. It is Super Bowl 60, taking place in Santa Clara, California. The league, as always, is still big business, with reports today that the New York Giants sold a 10% minority stake to the Koch family. That deal was reportedly valued at $10 billion, the highest valuation ever for a sports team. Now to an ABC News exclusive. Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts led his team to a Super Bowl win last season, but now he says the past is the past as his Eagles kick off the new season tonight against their NFC East rivals, the Dallas Cowboys. Our Robin Roberts got a chance to sit down with Hurts.
Number 1 in your program and number 1 in your heart.
How you doing?
Oh.
One-on-one with Jalen Hurts.
as he gears up for the highly anticipated NFL season opener. It's right upon us. How exciting is it to kick off the season with your NFC East rival?
It's a sense of focus you have to have. You know, I just go back to focus and discipline. You know, you go out here on these first games, there are a lot of different things that you don't know. There's so much unknown. And so regardless of the opponent, it's about playing clean football and just being on the same page. It's an ultimate team game.
After taking home the title last season,
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
The Eagles now with a clean slate, hoping to fly to another Super Bowl victory. Sitting across from me right now is the reigning Super Bowl MVP. So how does that impact you going into the season, having won it all last year?
And the only way it impacts me is that it's in the past. You know, it's in the past, and it's something that will not help me accomplish anything in this upcoming season. And so when I really, really think about it competitively, you know, the drive is always going to be there. Now, the passion is always going to be there. And the desire to grow is always going to be there.
So you don't feel any pressure when, you know, fans are like back-to-back, they want the back-to-back championship?
Everyone has that perspective, and I know everybody's hungry for certain things to come into reality, but as a player, you take it one game at a time.
That is the home of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen.
And a new season begins.
Here at the Eagles practice facility, Jalen's been putting in the work and training around the clock.
I think passion is one thing that'll always have to be there for you to do something that you love. Have to be passion. It'll have to be the reflection of all the late nights and early mornings, the time invested, the equity put in.
So what did you do in the off season to be able to be fresh and to recharge for a new season?
I had some time to myself, had some time to my family, and I had the opportunity to really recharge of what's to come. You know, it's a very, very rigorous grind when you play for a while and you're playing into the Super Bowls and you're playing for championship games. That means your seasons are longer and your breaks are shorter.
Have the utmost respect when everybody's putting everything that's going on in their lives on social. You have been able to maintain a personal, private life. And I just want to say congratulations on tying the knot, being married.
Thank you.
Okay, the new title of husband, how could it impact you going forward on this season?
Well, it's, you know where your strength comes from. You know where your strength comes from. You know where your rock is. And those are the things that always give you encouragement anytime you step into something.
The Birds stepping into the season with this classic Philly play, which recently pushed its way past a proposed ban. Tush push, it's alive. You know, people tried to take it down again.
They did.
I know, so what is it? What is it about that particular play that has gotten such recognition?
We do such a really good job of it. It's something we've kind of began and it stuck with us, and I think every team has that one thing that makes them unique. It's something that kind of began here. You can do different things that kind of create a splash in the game, and that's just so happened to be ours.
Jalen's work on and off the field with his foundation, leading him to the Breakfast of Champions.
Does it make you feel like a champion?
Yeah. Wheaties featuring Jalen on a new limited edition box. Oh, I just noticed Love Hurts. The cereal, a staple from his childhood.
It wasn't even about the cereal, it's about what it represented. I can't tell you that I ever dreamed of being on a Wheaties box I looked at when I woke up in the mornings and ate cereal. It's just something that kind of came into fruition because of those icons that I followed after. It's very nostalgic to me. It's very nostalgic just thinking about my childhood and the icons that have graced the box. So to represent it now is something.
Our thanks to Robin and Jalen Hurts for that conversation. Coming up, may the bid be with you, how you could possibly get your hands on an iconic prop from the Star Wars films, and our conversation with actor Fred Hechinger about his new film, Preparation for the Next Life. Why school supply prices are soaring. Justin Bieber releases a new surprise album, And how much would you expect to pay for a piece of cinematic history? Darth Vader's iconic lightsaber is up for auction. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. Justin Bieber surprised fans today by announcing another surprise album, posting the title Swag 2 and the all-pink album cover on his Instagram. Bieber also posted photos of the album cover plastered on billboards and superimposed on everything from old photos to national landmarks. The album drops tonight at midnight. In July, Bieber released the first Swag album. It was Bieber's first in 4 years, following a series of career and personal woes that forced him to cancel his last tour. Star Wars fans with deep pockets have the chance to purchase a one-of-a-kind piece of cinematic history, Darth Vader's lightsaber. The starting bid on the prop lightsaber is listed at about $500,000, but according to the listing from Prop Store, the highest bid has already reached $1.2 million. The prop was used on the set of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and it was also featured in famous battle scenes between the Sith Lord and Luke Skywalker. No winner was declared after Wednesday night's Powerball drawing, sending the jackpot total climbing again to a whopping $1.7 billion. It's now the third highest jackpot in U.S. lottery history, with an estimated cash value of more than $770 million, according to Powerball. The next drawing is on Saturday, and the current streak ties the game's record for the most consecutive drawings without a jackpot winner. Fast fashion giant Shein is conducting an internal investigation after a vendor on its site used the likeness of Luigi Mangione to sell a shirt that retailed for about $10. Mangione is accused of assassinating United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last year. The image has now been taken down, but an archive page from Shein's website shows Mangione's likeness used in advertising for a patterned short-sleeve shirt. A Shein spokesperson said that they will take appropriate action against the vendor and strengthening their monitoring. Parents are facing steeper prices for back-to-school shopping this year, with costs rising 7.3% amid tariffs, according to a new report. The price hikes affect everything from binders and pencils to electronics, at a time when parents already spend an average of nearly $586 on supplies for one student. Index cards jumped 42%, while 3-ring binders cost nearly 13% more than last year. Buying off-brand in bulk or at thrift stores could yield shoppers some savings. The iconic children's show Sesame Street is going to find a new home on YouTube, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Classic episodes of Sesame Street will be uploaded to YouTube starting in January, making it the home for the largest digital library of the long-running show. YouTube says that Sesame Street is wildly popular, with episodes on the platform topping 5 billion views last year. You might know Fred Hechinger from The White Lotus, Gladiator 2, and the Best Picture nominated Nickel Boys. Our Ashin Singh got a chance to sit down with him to discuss his next project, Preparation for the Next Life. Let's take a look.
Do you not want this?
No. But maybe we should wait.
Maybe we shouldn't. If there's something that you want to do, you better do it today. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow.
And joining us now is star of Preparation for the Next Life, Fred Hechinger. Thank you so much for being here, Fred.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, you've had a crazy year. I mean, Nickel Boys, Gladiator 2, Thelma. Preparation for the Next Life, it sounds like a departure from the roles that you've done in the past. I mean, those are younger characters, and these are some very mature themes. What drew you to this role?
A few things made this movie a no-brainer for me. I felt that kind of thing in your heart where you just feel you have to be a part of it. The director, Bing Liu, had made a movie called Minding the Gap. It's a documentary about his life, and it was one of my favorite movies of the past couple decades. It's just an amazing work. And then the novel this is based on, called same title, Preparation for the Next Life, by a writer named Atticus Lish, is a book that means a lot to me. Then my co-star, the actress Sabia, is an incredible performer, and when we met, I also just felt that this is just a true star, and so all those factors coming together, I felt like I really wanted to make this film.
Yeah, we literally watched you and Sabia fall in love on screen. What was it like working with her and building that chemistry?
She's just a one-of-a-kind artist. chemistry, I guess, is a funny, people talk about it, but it's hard to know exactly what it means or how it comes about. But what I know is that Sabia is just such a deep and searching performer, and the fact that this is her first film is absolutely crazy to me. I mean, she was just a total pro. Every day on set, I felt like she was, finding completely new things and a real leader. So it was an amazing experience.
You mentioned Bing Liu being one of your favorite directors for his work, Oscar-nominated work on Minding the Gap. This is his first ever narrative feature.
Yeah.
What kind of documentary zhuzh did he bring to this narrative feature and a very raw love story?
I mean, I think he's just looks at life in a very free of judgment way. So he doesn't turn people into heroes or villains. He tries to see what's actually happening and what's really in front of him, meaning he looks at it with love, and he looks at it with grace, but he also looks at it with truth and challenging nature as well. And so I just felt everything that was in his documentary he brought to narrative filmmaking.
Yeah, as you guys are making this film, you guys are dealing with characters who really live on the fringes. I mean, we're talking about a veteran and an undocumented Uyghur immigrant. Why tell the story of the unseen, and how is that a new challenge for you as an actor and as a storyteller?
I mean, to me, it's a story about two outcasts or misfits who feel they don't have a lot of support for different reasons, but it ends up in some ways in a shared place, and even though their realities are different, they share this dream, and they really do inspire one another to imagine a different kind of life, a new possibility for how they can survive and live well, not just materially, but also in their heart.
Fred, I got to ask you though,
Yeah.
Skinner has a fixation with doing push-ups throughout the movie.
Yeah.
How many push-ups did you do while you were on set and actually on camera?
Well, you do a lot of takes, so I will say the push-ups we did a ton. But the gym is like.
Was there a moment where you're like, "Bing, give me a break, man"?
Yeah. I liked the challenge of it all. The gym is like it's sort of like their Skinner and Aisha's like love temple. It's like where they feel most connected because they really push each other physically to try and change and grow stronger.
Fred, congratulations on the new film, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate it. You can see Preparation for the Next Life in select theaters tomorrow.
Our thanks to Ashin for that. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.